should be sub number 3 says every November 20th in Brazil is Day of Black Consciousness, paying homage to Zumbi dos Palmeiras and African heritage. So, of course, this came with an attachment. It's taking us to YouTube. Short video. We'll watch it, then we'll discuss.
On November 20th, Brazil celebrates National Black Consciousness Day. Activists took to the streets in cities across the country to celebrate Black roots and demand an end to racism in the country. Our correspondent Brian Meir shares with us the following material.
Brazil, the social movements and unions took to the streets in dozens of cities for National Black Consciousness Day, which is celebrated every November 20th to remember Zumbi dos Palmares, who was king of a nation created by former enslaved people in Pernambuco in the 1600s that maintained diplomatic relations with Dutch and Portuguese colonists for over 100 years. The holiday was first created in the 1970s as a positive alternative to Abolition Day.
We are on the streets to say that there is no Brazil without Black people. We are the majority of the population and we celebrate our existence, but above all, we say that racism exists in Brazil, and it's important that we overcome this by fighting poverty, generating jobs and income for the Black population, and work to end the police extermination of Black youth.
Yeah, sorry about that. I couldn't find the mute button for a second. So this is cool. This is a reminder of the enslaved Africans in South America, Brazil in particular, and the fact that there is still Africanisms and African consciousness down there amongst those Africans there as well. So it's just a reminder too, you know, our people knew who they were at one time, man, and they understood our situation. Once we encountered these psychopathic people like Black Steel and them been talking about tonight, and you know we still, there's a lot of us who still celebrate it, man. We still try to keep up with it, and this notion that the history books might want to give a lot of our people that we just kind of took it, turned the other cheek and took it again. I know that sounded wild, but you get what I'm saying. You know, that's just not what it really was. And we haven't been completely defeated. And it's good to know that. Black Steel, what say you to what you just saw?
I really like this. I think that people don't realize that most of the Africans that were brought over here during the Ma'afa came to Brazil and the Caribbean. I think I read somewhere that Brazil had the largest population of African people outside of the African continent. So I think that that particular point is often forgotten about in history, that so many of us ended up going to Brazil. Brazil was also the last country in the Western Hemisphere to abolish slavery. I think Brazil did not abolish slavery until 1888. So that's another historical fact people don't realize, that the Black people in Brazil matter as much as, you know, they do everywhere, but not, you know, in particular on our side of the globe. So I think this is never heard about this. This is great. I heard about Zumbi and the little kingdom that was made, but I think it's very important. I think we need to. That's why I think Pan-Africanism is so important, because we really do have family all over the globe, and I think that we need to we should all reach out to each other, because their experience in Brazil, in many ways, mirrors our own. I think police violence against Black people in Brazil is actually worse than it is in the United States. So I think that we have a common condition brought about because of our shared history. And I think that can only be something that can be a strength to us. So I'll leave it there. Thanks, Koku.
Thank you for that, Black Steel. Yeah, I think You know, I also saw where like, and I'll tell y'all something too, which is adding to my being fed up. I saw on Twitter a Black American woman. I guess in Ghana, they are now pushing a huge reparations thing. Trigger, you could tell me if that's correct. I think they're pushing heavy, and I guess they had some presentation somewhere where folks were, you know, doing a reenactment of chattel slavery, and the black woman is like, "Look how they use our story," and I'm like, "Don't you know that enslavement and brutality happened to all of us?" And I think we forget that, and I think it's coming to the point where, you know, we're intentionally forgetting that all of us got dealt that blow. So all of us have the same type of processing to do. All of us tend to have our moments of celebration, of remembrance, and that kind of thing. And I think that's the thing that we should also connect on as well, you know. Ben Uko, are you there? Ben, are you there?
Yeah, so here I'm gonna step down. Okay, I might come back.
Oh yeah, okay. You turned on your mic, but okay, go ahead, Ben. Who do I have? It was Black Steel. Let me hear from Buana on this next.
Yeah, there's a popular YouTuber too, in fact, that I watch sometimes. One named they travelers. They travel throughout the world. One is Checks in Effect. He's a good YouTuber, and another guy named Ace Live. He's a Haitian guy out of Florida, and he goes to all these places, and I think he went to Brazil as well, and he went to a province in Brazil. I think it's Bahia. One of these places, I don't know if he was in Colombia or Brazil, but they have cities filled filled with black folks. Black folks like they running the whole city, you know. And I never really thought that Brazilians. I knew there was black Brazilians, but I didn't know that black Brazilians were like really running whole towns, you know. And these, they say we have a doppelganger all over the world, somebody who looks just like us. And if you go in some of these places, you will see somebody who look like your cousin and your auntie, and someone who probably look just like you. You know, they might not necessarily speak the language you're talking about, but they look just like you. And there are black folks in Brazil and Colombia and all around the world. I personally think, though, that because the black Brazilians number so many, that they need to take control of the narrative, like the North American black folks have done in North America. I think that the black Brazilians in South America need to take control of their own narrative and not just permit the state to push out or project their image in terms of blackness and when they can celebrate black consciousness. And I understand that because we don't speak Portuguese, we don't probably know the representatives that exist within these societies who are very popular and who speak on behalf of black issues and causes that exist in these areas and places. I'm sure that they exist, and I'm sure that they're very popular. But I just think that the black Brazilians storyline needs to be put out there because they represent so many black folks in the Western world. In fact, the largest amounts of black people, and the Colombians, and down the line in the Spanish-speaking in the Spanish-speaking world. I think that their representation is missing from the dialogue and the discussion. You know, we usually hear about the English-speaking black folks and what they go through and their issues and how they're trying to resolve their problems. But I think that this part of the dialogue is missing and from the discussion. And I think that we need to engage more with these folks. You know, we need to engage more with the black folks in the South. You know, not only in the Caribbean, but the other kind of South. It's the Spanish-speaking Caribbean and the Spanish-speaking Americas as well, because their commentary is missing from the discussion. Yeah, I do know Watermeyer. Instead of coming to North America, I think he started in the South America, and he's working his way up to the North Americas, which is very good. But I think that their story needs to be put out there more. That story is missing. And I'm glad that he decided to venture inside of Brazil and South American countries and expose the world to the amounts of black folks and their sentiment as well. Their sentiments that they carry, that they are very open to saying that we are black and we are proud that we are black. We come from the continent. That is refreshing to hear from the black world, especially in the Western world, because you don't hear that so much in other places. So the fact that these group of black folks have a degree of consciousness and don't see or perceive that blackness as something that's bad or poor, I think that that's a good thing to expose the whole world to. So I think Wode Maya is doing a good job of that. But like I say, this is the part of the discussion that's missing from the dialogue that needs to be engaged more. But I'll stop there.
Appreciate that, boy. Shout out to Afro Native World. If I'm not mistaken, and I hope I'm okay in saying this, as well as not being mistaken. I think Afro Native World is Afro Colombian. So it's refreshing that even in this small space that we have here, we have representatives from pretty much, the entire black world. So I kind of like that. In fact, I like it a lot. With that said, Oni, what say you?
Oh, yeah. So I think everybody should try to watch Quilombo. I think that was one of the best movies that we produced for our culture. But outside of that, yeah, I mean, an African presence outside of Africa is what it is. Granted, this is the thing we have to, be realistic about. A lot of people are going to, like, a lot of what we consider African black is going to become diluted over time. And the people in United States, when they say, hey, I'm not African, some of them are becoming diluted. Now, obviously, we can joke and say, well, that person, who said it was, he looked like, Shaka Zulu. Sure. But over time, I mean, or put it differently, Yvette Carnell did not look like Shaka Zulu, over time, you're going to find, like, essentially, like this is what happens when you are a minority in a country. Your descendants are going to mix and mix and mix and mix and mix and mix and mix. So obviously, I applaud Brazil, and just like I applaud Jamaica, I applaud Haiti, I applaud even whatever, Dominican Republic. I applaud every country for having an African presence, or United States, whatever. But I'm telling people, if you care about like you can't save everybody. You can't save every black person on the planet. You can't save every African person, every person of African descent on the planet. That's not possible. White people cannot even save every white person, and they have a shit ton more resources than you do, especially if you're not in the state. That said, yeah, go where you are the majority. It's not perfect. You obviously can have like, it depends on what kind of materials you're interested in, what kind of trinkets you're interested in. You can have better materials and better trinkets. But like, if you're in the West, but like Brother Bakari was pointing out today on his show, we need to stop selling out for trinkets. We need to stop selling out for trinkets. And what that means is that, yeah, go live where, where it might be a little bit more of a struggle per se, but where you are the majority and your children, like, for instance, my son right now, he actually is a bit lighter than me, but still, if he, when he goes to the continent, if he eventually marries a lady there, the lineage, like it's going down the line, everything, everything darker than me, more or less. You know, and I'm not saying that, you know, you have to be darker or lighter, because, you know, there were people of diverse shades, even in Tanzania. So it's not to say that, you know, and it's not to say you prefer one versus the other. What I'm saying is that if you're not trying to become extinct as a people, right? Because if you, when you watch this video, you realize a lot of the phenotype of Africa is becoming lost, and the people are progressively going to look more and more like the indigenous population, more and more like the European population. You have to keep that in mind. So yes, you cannot save everybody, and yes, you should save yourself. You know, and it goes back to the age-old lesson: when you're on a sinking ship, put your life vest on first. You know, when you're on the airplane, put your mask on even before you put it on your child. Save yourself. That's all.
Appreciate that, Oni. Does anyone have any last comments on this prompt? All right. Conversation in the chat between RBG and Trigger is going on. It's a good one. So make sure you guys tune into that if you're listening to the playback.